Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to talk about defaulting. If you don't already know, defaulting is what you do on the terrorist side, usually in team environments, but you can do this in pugs. There's no reason not to. And what the point of defaulting is to get information from the CTs that otherwise you would have to go out on the site to find out, right? You want to get all the information you possibly can before you go and execute a site. So what kind of information are you trying to get on a default, right? You could get information such as where's the op? What kind of buy are the CTs on? What kind of utility are they using, or do they still have potentially, right? Are they going for any map control? Right? Is there a stack towards a site? There's a lot of information that you can get just by waiting around an area and listening for 30-45 seconds. Now, the way that you set up a default does vary from map to map, and that's what we're going to be going over in this video, is talking about every single active map and the way that you can kind of set up a very basic default. Some maps, map control is a lot more important than utility usage. For example, Inferno, map control, there's not too much map to control, right? You really want to try to draw out that utility from the CT side. Other maps like Mirage, right? There's a lot of map to control, so maybe you're going to set up the default a little bit differently. Also, on certain maps, you can have multiple defaults. Overpass, very common map to have multiple defaults on. And the way that you set up a default, and I'll get into this later, don't worry, but you kind of just spread all your players around the map and just have them as stopgaps to see if a CT pushes through a ramp. Do you have somebody there to know, to find out if somebody's going for that info play? So let's jump in. I'm going to have timestamps in the video so you can actually see what map I'm talking about at that time. So if you want to jump forward, you can. Let's jump into it. So our first map is Mirage. Now, Mirage, there's a couple ways that you can do a default, but there's really just one main way that you run a default. So on Mirage, a default could be you have one person playing towards A, whether if they want to go into Palace or Ramp. Usually you have them go into Ramp more times than not, just because if a player is pushing through Palace or like a CT gets Palace, they might get here and then just stop, right? They're not going to be wrapping all the way through. Whereas if a player pushes through Ramp and they get this info, there's a good chance they're going to go for this flank. So you want a player, playing passively Ramp, waiting for something. Also trying to note how many mollies are being thrown, how many smokes are being thrown. Did they flash into Palace? Maybe that means somebody's in there, right? Did you hear somebody run under balk? There's a lot of information that you can gather from just having one guy towards Ramp. The other solo player is going to be towards B, right? And this guy's just going to be in kitchen, maybe trying to draw out some util. It's not very difficult to draw out utility on the T side. Oh, too bad I can't throw a smoke properly. So, for example, if you're a T-side player, you drop a smoke here so the CTs can't really see if you're crossing or not. It's going to draw out some util, going to draw a rotate, going to do a lot, right? And that's just one smoke. Maybe you make them use both their mollies. Who knows? But you have to at least try it. So doing this, just waiting, you're not really pushing, right? You're not trying to get the opening pick. You're not trying to weasel your way out on the site. You're just trying to make them think that you potentially could do that. Now, your other three players are going to be going for top mid control. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this, and, this is where you actually want to talk with your team or the people that you're pugging with and really decide how do you want to do this. Think through it. So you can sit back here and wait for a good 30 seconds and then drop a smoke trying to get up. You can go for fast control where, you throw a window smoke, you throw a cat smoke. I'm not going to show you guys this. You guys know how to throw smokes, right? So you drop a window, you drop a cat smoke, and then you can kind of get out pretty quickly. No top mid smoke down, and you can get out quickly and just isolate connector. You can even put your opper here, have them post up on connector, have one rifle there to support them, right? And then have your third guy go underpass so he can help pinch connector, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can go about, or different ways that you can go about taking mid. But the point is, you have one person waiting back in A that, he can, once mid control happens, that opens a lot of the map up for the A lurk, right? You see, he's not really, he's technically a lurk, I guess. I mean, I just called him that, so I'd hope so. But after you guys get mid control and you guys are fighting in bottom connector and all the A players are worried about mid, that's when this guy can start coming out, right? He knows that he can isolate a fight. He has a 1v1 on A site, you know, especially if mid's not going well for you guys, if the connector player's, you know, shitting on you guys. He can isolate this fight. So there's a lot of different things that you can do off of this mid control, and a lot of different ways you can go about this mid control. And no way is right, no way is wrong. All right, there are a lot of wrong ways to do it, but really, you know, you want to stay flexible. You want to know, hey, they just used both mollies B. Let's see if we can do a cat split. Let's see, you know, let's pull our A guy all the way back to T-spawn. Maybe he can re-smoke window for us, and we can run up cat. Or he can throw the cat run up smoke, and we can get up, right? So you want to stay flexible, especially with Mirage. This is one where map control is very important. You're going to stack players to a certain point in the map and have two other players just holding down, waiting for the push, you know, just trying to see what the CTs are doing. Here we are on Inferno. Now, Inferno is a lot different than Mirage because there's technically no, like, mid to take. Yes, this is top mid, but this is also pretty much A. And then you have banana, which leads to B. Right? That's it. There's nothing in the middle. So the way that you want to split this up really depends on how the CTs are playing this. Usually you're going to have two people bottom banana taking car control. You're going to have one person sitting Mexico, making sure that nobody's running down mid, you know, an opper's not posted, whatever. Then you're going to have two people coming up apps with one guy going this way, maybe a guy jumping into bedroom, right, and just trying to gain apps control. So, you know, if the team that you're playing against is going for very heavy banana control, maybe you want to retake banana. Maybe instead of trying to have two guys or three guys run up here right at the start, you say, if you guys really want to take it, if you want to dump all of your utility at the start, go for it. We'll come back 30 seconds later when your mollies are gone, your smokes are gone, you don't have any more flashes, and we can just come up and, you know, throw our own utility, whether that's a top car smoke. How do I throw things? I haven't played CS in so long. Whether that's a top car smoke, a half-wall flash, right? Lots of different ways that you can easily get or regain this map control with your utility and make it a lot easier. And then for top mid, right? You can go for fast top mid control. This is a very, very good idea because a lot of teams in mid, they're not dropping the utility like they are in banana, right? They might throw a smoke here, but that's just about it, right? Compared to banana, where they're going to be throwing a close molly, a deep molly, you know, flashing over. Maybe they have a smoke deep as well, right? So there's a lot of different things being used in banana, but top mid, not really. So if you want to go for fast mid control, where you're throwing maybe a fast arch smoke or something like that, right? There's, you know, a lot of room to do that. And once you gain top mid control on the default, then you can leave a player here. You can leave two players here even. It doesn't take more than 3 people to take banana control. Then you get car control, and now the CTs are left playing on site, and on A, playing on site, right? So the CTs are forced to, do we go for a re-aggression top mid? Do we go for an info type play where they flash in? And that's why you have two people here just waiting for them to make that mistake. Waiting for them to try to get the info to see if you guys are actually still top mid. And then you can get the kill. And then off of that, it's really easy to bait rotates, right? Because Inferno is such a divided map, right? It's very easy to, you know, make somebody rotate over because they're like, oh no, if I don't leave right now, I won't be able to get over to the site in time by the, you know, when they're executing, and I won't be able to help. So, doing that also, B, if they don't throw banana control, right, and you're able to just take banana for free, then you can throw it fake, right? It's very easy to throw a B fake. You don't have to, like, overcommit to it. You can throw a coffin smoke. You can throw a CT smoke, right? Throw some flashes over there, and then you don't have to go. And off of that, the CTs have to be forced to use some sort of utility. And if they don't, you can get the read. Maybe they don't have utility to throw. Maybe we should just all 5 group up somewhere. And then, after you condition the CTs enough of, hey, you know, we're throwing executes on you guys can just walk up, contact, have one person with a banger flash, everybody pops out on that, and the CTs are completely caught off guard, right? Where's a good flash? This is a good flash, right? So having something like that, oh, I threw it a bit low, but you get the point, right? So it pops right there. Having something like that, Inferno is a map where you default just about every single round. Unless you're on pistol, unless some weird strat has been working every single time because of the way the CTs are playing, just about every round you're going to default. On Mirage, and I know I didn't mention this back then, should have, on Mirage, it's going to be like a 60-40. 60% of the time you're defaulting, 40% of the time you're actually running a strat. So, you know, different maps, different ways to play it. Now we are on to Dust 2. Now, Dust 2 requires some smokes, just like Mirage does, for some default control. So, usually, for some control, you do want to have a Xbox smoke down. You can even throw some smokes out long where they land right here. You know, trying to just press them off the angle, make some space. Luckily, or unluckily for the T side, you don't have to have the CTs throw a smoke here and cross anymore. Now that this barrier is in the way, you can't really opt down mid. What you can do is you can drop down here and potentially get the cross, but also, you know, if they go for a mid push, you're kind of stuck there. So it's a riskier play. It still is viable, but it's, you know, this has changed the Dust 2 dynamic a lot. So the way that you would set up a D2 default is you can either have 1 or 2 people in tons. I've seen it run both ways. So you can have a person in tons trying to hold, you know, maybe they cross trying to catch the CTs off guard, so if they do push through, you know, you're on somewhat of an off angle. I wouldn't really recommend that. You can kind of just stay right here. And again, trying to see what utility they're using. Maybe you can bait out some utility, throw a lurk smoke, throw some flashes, make them think that it's B just to get that B guy a little bit nervous. Or you can wait till some mid control comes in, and then you can maybe start working B. Then you can have a second player lower, or you could just leave lower open, depending on how many people you want to put cat. But lower, you know, it's decent. You can throw a smoke. I don't actually know how to throw the smoke. I don't really play D2 all that often, as you can see. But there's a smoke that you can throw that lands right up here on the door, just like this. There you go. As you can see, no, I didn't get it. But it lands up on the door. You know, it allows your teammates to run up cat. You guys know. You guys play D2. When I was a silver, I never played D2. I didn't play D2 until like 2 years ago, right? So I would always play Mirage. I'm a Mirage boy. But you can have a guy lower. You don't really need a guy lower if you don't want to. You're probably going to want to send 3 towards cat. And now cat is very important because if you get this map control, like, if you're able to stand right here and not be super concerned about them peeking into you, this is very good for the rest of the map, right? Because you can throw a lot, right? You can throw lurk smokes, you can throw mid to B smoke, you can fake it a lot. So, and on D2, again, a longer rotation map, just like Inferno, you do want to cause some misdirection. You do want them to be like, okay, it's A. Wait, no, it's B. It's a lot easier to fake that it's A and then go B rather than fake that it's B and then go A. Because think about it from a CT perspective, you have most of your players at A. If there's an A execute coming in, everybody there is going to stay. You already have the rotation stuck at A. And then it ends up going B, and the A players were like, oh, well, I couldn't really leave A. They were throwing stuff. But then if, you know, you're throwing stuff towards B, and the B player's like, guys, they're executing. The A players are going to be a little bit hesitant to actually rotate over just because A is a lot more difficult to hold, and the rotations are so long, right? So they're going to be a little bit more hesitant, and then you throw an A execute on that, and they're still there, and they're like, yeah, I knew I shouldn't have trusted my B players saying they were coming, you know. So it's a lot easier to throw things up cat. Whether it's something like this, I don't really remember smokes on D2. So that's a lurk smoke. This is potentially, no, it's not a CT smoke. Let me one more try, one more shot. Let's do right there. And still didn't get it. But, you know, it lands like this. I should have brushed up on my Dust 2 utility. That is my bad. All right, roast me in the comments. I don't care. But you can throw stuff like that. Then you can easily come back and throw a mid to B, right? So that's lots of options on the default. Your 5th player is just going to be holding long. This can be your opper, that, you know, usually would post mid and then could just come over here. Maybe you want your opper top mid, you know, trying to hold the cross like this, right? But, you know, you usually want to have some player here. It is very likely that the CTs get antsy and they take long control. Also, this is going to be about a, you know, 70-30. So 70% of the time you're going to be running the default. 30% of the time you're going to be running a strategy. And whether that, like, strat is, you know, go fast long, or let's take B fast, or let's run up cat fast, right? Usually it's the change of pace plays that are your actual strategies, you know, something that's quick, because all the slower developing things, the actual, like, all right, let's work our way into an execute, that's coming from a default. That the default is the foundation for those types of plays. So other strategies are going to be faster plays, change the pace up, you know, catch the CTs off guard. So Nuke is a little bit different than any other map. Nuke default, in my opinion, and there's a lot of different ways to run a default on Nuke. All right, do not get me wrong. This is just how I would run it. Nuke default requires 2 smokes, right? And if you go out with them, you go out with them. If you don't, you don't. But you need to have the consistency. You need to, as a T on Nuke, you need to keep the CTs at all corners of the map stimulated, so they don't get bored and they push through and completely screw up your plan, right? But also, you have to be ready for CTs to go for some aggro plays. CTs going for a hut pick, right? Coming in here, or going for a whole pinch where they also go through squeak and they also go through control, right? Or, sorry, radio. There is, you know, there's a lot of potential for that. That's not super uncommon. So the way that you would set up a Nuke default is you would have 3 players in lobby, preferably 1 player holding each one of these choke points. So a player holding this, a guy holding squeak, then a guy holding ramp. But you can't just hold, right? You can't just wait here, because there's a good chance that nobody actually pushes. For example, the ramp guy can easily stimulate the ramp player, right? Maybe try to catch him off guard. Oh, is it right here? Yeah, it is. There we go. Throw a cross smoke like that. You know, you can throw some flashes off of this. You know, just trying to keep him honest at ramp. Not allowing him to rotate down to B, say, oh, well, they're not throwing anything. Let me cheat towards A and, like, play right here instead, right? No, you want to keep him honest down at ramp. And same thing goes for outside. Your other 2 players are going outside. So they're going to throw fast outside smokes, doing the wall smoke. So you have a smoke here. You have a smoke here. And usually you'd want a cross smoke, but on a default, you know, 3 smokes dedicated to it, that's a bit much. So you can just flash over, right, and try to cross with it. You can also, you know, have 1 person down here, 1 guy up on Marshmallow trying to help out as well. So, you know, sometimes you do want to get behind these smokes and weasel your way down secret. Or you want to get right to red and just wait for the smokes to fade and just wait right here. Because the whole point of Nuke for the CTs is for them to get bored and them to go, I think I can flank. Nobody's really gone outside for the past couple rounds, and then they, you know, make a mistake, walk right into your crosshair, and you can kill them, right? Nuke isn't really all about the executes. It's very difficult to have a good, solid, works 80% of the time execute on Nuke. It's mostly just you have to play the numbers game, you have to play picks, and everybody on your team needs to be ready to go somewhere at any given point, right? Just based off of some info. As soon as, like, if you have a guy ramp, right, and he hears one of the ramp guys rotate off, or one of the ramp guys walks in here and he just kills him, right? He gets that pick. Everybody needs to be ready to figure out a way for them to get down to B. Or for them to, you know, get to ramp and help slow it down and take this map control and not just leave their teammate out in the open, right? So if he kills that enemy, right, then he can easily, quickly drop down here, right? But then the rest of his team's kind of behind him, so they need to figure out, can they get down vent? Can they get down secret? Should this guy just fake B control and actually allow everybody else to stay A, right? So it's just a lot of, like, misdirection, confusion, and you need to get that opening pick. So that's it for Nuke. Nuke is pretty difficult. Nuke's something you definitely want to talk about with everybody on your team before you go ahead and play it. It's not something you can really jump right into. So like I said at the beginning of the video, Overpass is a map where you can have 2 defaults on, no problemo. So your first default would be A heavy, and your second default would be B heavy. Now A defaults can come in different forms. So one that people like to throw, I don't necessarily like to throw this all that often, but have a smoke here, have a smoke that bounces off like that, but actually, you know, smokes divider a little bit better. And then you can come up, get some party control, get top connector control, and then slowly work your way into bathrooms, right? You get to this point, you can easily throw a fake, run down B, or, you know, you can throw a B fake, have them run up to A. So Overpass really teeters on getting bathroom control and water control down here on B, so you're able to quickly throw a fake, run back down, or vice versa, right? So on that A default, you're probably going to want to have, and honestly, I would not recommend throwing these 2 smokes. I feel like these smokes are better utilized if you're actually throwing a fake rather than trying to get this map control. I think that bathrooms is pretty difficult to clear. So even though you're smoking the people in bathrooms off, right, they're still in a good position. Like once those smoke fades, you're kind of done for. So I wouldn't use those smokes. But the way that I would A default is either send 2 or 3 people up here, and you can have them split depending on the spawn, or, you know, maybe the opper's been peeking every single time, so you want to go into playground instead. That's fine. But once you're here, right, you're just slowly getting map control. You're kind of testing out the waters, because Overpass is a little bit different on the CT side. CTs can play a multitude of spots, right? There's, you know, a lot of setups. They won't be playing anybody long. So you got to find out as a T, are they playing anybody long? So you can flash over, you can jiggle, see if like an opper shoots at you, you know, do they have a guy right here? You really have to know your angles. CTs are meant to be in spots to pick the Ts off, make it easier, make it a 5 versus 4. And as Ts, you have to recognize that's what the CTs are trying to do. So always be in a tradable spot. Always use your utility before you peek something. So instead of like peeking something dry like this, right, you can kind of flash it. Oh, how unlucky. How unlucky. But you can kind of flash it, right, and then you can jiggle it, you can pre-aim, you can do a lot of different things before you just peek right into the angle. You don't even need to go through party. I personally don't like going through party. I like going right here instead. You can flash off this wall, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do and ways to get here. Then, and on that default A, you would have a guy like outside a monster here, seeing if they're pushing through, you know, listening to see if they're taking short control, doing whatever, and then your 4th player can go down connector, hold back. If they do take short control or water control, maybe you have teammates from A come back down, and you guys can pinch retake, right? So there's a lot of different options, because you can't just go right into an execute without taking this on a default, that is. You know, if you're running a set strategy, completely different game, but on a default you need water control. Now the other type of default is the B control default. This is where you're only going to send 2 players towards A, maybe both of them go up here, right, and then you only have 1 player in connector, or you have 1 person go up here, you put 2 people in connector, or still just 1 person in connector. Lots of variability with this, but the point is that you need enough players over at B that you're confident with that can take some short control, right? Maybe you want to put all 3 people coming through short pipe, trying to get this kill, watching for the boost right there. Maybe you only want to put 2 and have a guy split through connector, right? Quickly coming up here, as soon as he gets down, he can throw a smoke like that, and then he can just come right out, right, and help your teammate. Maybe you just have 1 person going for short pipe, another guy going for connector, while your 3rd player is over here flashing over for everybody, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. But again, the point is, just for the Overpass default, although this seems complicated, the point is you need to take this control, and then you need to take this control, right? You don't even need to peek right here. You don't even need to get this clear, right? You just need to be able to stay back here and stay right here at the same time to be able to throw fakes, right? If you fake them enough, you can just throw 1 execute and again go with it, and you know it's gonna catch them off guard, right? So that's it for Overpass. Again, It seems confusing at first, seems a little daunting, but once you kind of understand what the two main goals are of getting short control, getting bathroom control, then you've unlocked the map. Vertigo is a map where you're going to want to have multiple defaults as well. Now, Vertigo is a very difficult map to play when it comes to T-side. Lots of different things that need to be happening. Requires a lot of practice. This is not something you can jump right into with a new team and really do well at, right? Not a Mirage, not an Inferno, okay? So your first basic default is going to be a 3-1-1. Now, the numbers are in A, mid, B order, right? So 3A, 1 mid, 1 B. And your 3A players, right, they're going to be throwing a smoke kind of like this, trying to get up. You know, that's to block some of the peaks coming down. But they're trying to get A ramp control, and they're fighting for this control. Because CTs are also going to be fighting for this control. Kind of like Banana on Inferno, right? Both teams are immediately running to this spot, trying to gain control of it. And it's up to your team. You know, do you want to wait out all the utility? Do you want to wait 45 seconds and then pop through their smoke when they don't have mollies left over? But then you got to, like, clear all the angles. There's a lot of different places they can be, right? So there's a lot of different options as well. Do you want to just immediately fight for it? Do you have confidence that you can take that from the CTs even though they're going to be pushing, right? So that's your basic one where you just have that going on. You have a guy sitting outside of B waiting for the push. And then you have a guy sitting outside of mid waiting for the push, right? Simple things like that. That's your most basic. Then you can go into a 2-1-2 where you're still somewhat pressuring A. You're still just sitting back in mid waiting for a push. But then on B, you're trying to get into here, right? However you want to do it, whether it's with a flash and a molly, there's a lot of different good ways to actually push people out of this angle if they do push down. There's one ways that you can throw right here. So then you get this control, and then you can start to pressure B. You can throw fakes onto B. You could throw fakes onto A, you know. Let your mid guy lurk through while the CTs are worried about either site. There's a lot of different things that you can do with a 2-1-2. And then you can go 3-0-2, right? Maybe mid just hasn't been working for you, right? You want to just go for 3 towards A, make it look like you just have one person B, one person mid, catch them off guard, you know, work up A, and then you still have 2 people B. 2 people B can throw an execute, have the A players come back over, right? Take B. They can throw an execute, make it look like it's going to be a B hit, run back to A, lots of different things. And then finally, a 1-3-1. Now, 1-3-1 is very difficult to pull off, but it is very powerful as well. Mid on Vertigo is extremely powerful, but it's also extremely difficult to take as 1 or 2 people. So putting 3 people here makes it a little bit easier, but not a lot of people are comfortable or used to putting 3 people in mid on T side. So it's very difficult to pull off. So on a 1-3-1, you have one person bottom A making sure they're not running all the way through, right? You have another person bottom B, making sure they're not running all the way through. You also want to be calling this after you've taken A ramp control a lot, right? You don't want to call this one too many times in a row, or else they're going to be like, hey, they're not even doing anything ramp. Let's not dump all our util at the start. Let's just wait for them to peek out, you know, or we can just contact walk down, right? Let's just try to catch them off guard. So you don't want to do this too many times in a row. Then you have your 3 people mid, and they're slowly clearing things out. Now, there's a lot of different smokes that you can throw. You can smoke off CT side. You can smoke off LE side, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. And it really just comes down to how has the game played out so far? Is their B pretty strong? Are they playing 2 on B? Are they putting, 2 mid? There's a lot of different variables that you have to figure out about how they're actually playing the map. And then you can go in and, figure out, okay, well, let's try to do a B split. So let's smoke it like that, and then we can come up here and have our A guy lurk back to B by the time we decide to, go for that split. Or we can say, hey, we're probably going to go for an A split right here. B player, if you want to, come up and try to fight on B to hold that guy over so we can try to get up as well. There's a lot of different things. And Vertigo is very, you have to be in tradable spots for it, right? you can't really do a lot of solo plays on Vertigo. You're going to get punished for it, and you're going to become a man down into the round, and that's very difficult to come back from, right? Everything you do, you're probably going to want at least one person with you, if not more, to trade you out, because, it's a very small map. Rotates are very quick. You don't really have a lot of room to make solo plays. Now, Ancient. I am not super comfortable on Ancient, so please take all this with a grain of salt. This is just how I view the map and how I would run a default on it. So with Ancient, you'll quickly find out that getting this control as a T isn't as easy as it seems. CTs can push through here, try to catch you off guard, right? They can push down here, try to catch you off guard as well. Lots of different things. They can take mid, right? And jump up here and pinch. So this is a very crucial part of the map that you're probably going to want to dedicate 3 people to on T side. Whether that's putting all 3 people through here, and that's probably what I would do, is put all 3 people through this door. Maybe you could put 2 people there, 2 people in mid trying to pinch. But I personally would put 3 people through B doors, pressuring B, keeping the B players honest enough that they don't feel comfortable trying to get this map control, right? They're so worried about, I need to hold my sight, that they can't really get this type of map control. Then you have one person outside of mid waiting for the B people to get that control so they can come out right here and split mid together. And then you have one person outside of A. This is very easy to hold. Lots of weird angles you can play. Lots of ways to catch them off guard. The biggest thing is that if you're holding back here, you do need to be completely aware that somebody can tuck right in that corner. There can be somebody playing right here, catching you off guard, right? There's a lot of different angles, so don't immediately assume that this is clear just because you've had a teammate here, who hasn't had any contact all around. So, Ancient is a very difficult map. There's other ways that you can do it where you can say, hey, CTs, if you want to take this area, go for it. We're not even going to put anybody there. We'll go for some mid control, and we'll split the map in half and come up behind you guys, right? So think about it. All the CTs are pushing through here, or at least 2 to 3 of them are pushing through here. They're all funneled to this side of the map, and then they get here, and there's nobody to kill. Yes, they have B control, but now they've completely given up mid, and they've given up their flank, right? All it takes is a smoke like this, and you are able to run through B pretty easily, right? So, smoke here, smoke there like I just showed you, and you have a direct path to a one-way ticket to B from behind. And you can catch those CTs off guard. So, Ancient's a really scrappy map. I'd probably default on it most rounds, probably like an 80-20, 70-30. It really comes down to just brute force. Are you hitting your shots? Are you better than the other team? Are you more confident? Are your trades better? It really brings out the mechanical skill in people, just because it's a very new map and there's not a lot of tactics to fall back on, not a lot of structure to fall back on like there is on Inferno or Mirage, right? This is very raw. This is very puggy. So yeah, I haven't really played Ancient in a team environment too much, so I didn't want to overstep and say this is how you should exactly play it. But you guys get my point. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I can go into more detail if you guys want in shorter videos, talking about each map specifically. But I think this was pretty cool. You're able to just skip around, see whatever you want to see. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day. If you want your demo reviewed, click the link at the top of the description to get your demo reviewed by me. I do it once a month, every single Sunday. That doesn't make sense, but I will only do one demo of yours per month, but I'll do it every single Sunday, so I'm doing a bad job at explaining this. Let's slow it down. All right, let's try again here. If you purchased a demo review on Monday, that nearest Sunday, I would do your demo review as long as you send me all the information, right? So there's opportunities for me to do it every single weekend. It's not like I do all of them once a month, right? So your demo review will have less than a 7-day turnaround. As soon as you buy it and as soon as you send it to me, I'm going to be doing it that closest Sunday. I think that makes sense, but I'm only doing it once a month. All right, I think we're good here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.